Memories of Emanon is very much a memoir. It covers nostalgic memories from a mysterious woman whose name in and of itself is a Samordnalap. The story is clouded in mystery, a longing of times long past, but an unsureness for a future unwritten. I love the mystery of it, the lack of clarifications that bleed into nothingness, only challenged when outspoken to another. Emanon has witnessed so much of what Earth has to offer, its development, its mistakes, and the mistakes on mistakes it continues to make, bearing witness to an evolution of species so fragile and yet still filled with an unrestless wonder. Through travelling from one place to another, Emanon connects with a man she's never met. It's not plot-heavy nor bombastic in its delivery, but a quaint story reflecting on the world experienced through billions of years. Though I will admit, Emanon admitting she was reminded of her late husband through this man she connects with was worded in such a funny way. It'd be like me saying, "You remind me of my late wife. She died of the Black Plague. You look just like her." All that aside, it's a great one-shot that doesn't rely on dramatics or flair, but thought-provoking moments that leave you to ponder our experience in a world so aged in a way we never really think about.
So that was Danny from the YouTube channel LinesinMotion. And Danny isn't only the host of one of the best Anitube channels out there, but they're also one of 40 different victims of my evil plan. To recommend one of my favorite manga of all time, Memories of Emanon, to the biggest number of content creators that I could. Now, not all of them said yes, and even the ones that said yes, not all of them could participate in this video, but 20 different content creators from all sizes have decided to participate. They have read the manga and they have talked about it, and today we're gonna go through all of these videos. But before we jump into their opinions, what is Memories of Emanon even? Well, it's a manga. It's this one little volume. There's more, but the thing that we're going to be talking about is this little volume, and it's one of my favorite manga of all time. If you're part of this channel for long enough, you've been a viewer of this channel long enough, you know that Emanon herself is a character that has been present as sort of a mascot. I've used her to represent myself before I did Facecam. I used to have it as my profile picture on the channel, and she still appears for people that have watched the video till the end, over the last like 10-20 seconds of the video on the end screen. And yeah, it's just something that's been part of me for so long that I just love it. And I think there's two kinds of people when it comes to being fans of something that is not that well known. And my kind of people is being someone who absolutely wants to share it to the world, who absolutely wants everyone to just experience the things. Because if Emanon wasn't as popular, if Emanon was as popular now as it was back when I first read it, I wouldn't be able to have, you know, 2 copies of it, like 2 different editions of it. And because of that, although I asked, you know, many YouTubers to be part of this video, and a lot of them I asked for the first time, and they've heard about this manga for the first time, there were a couple that already knew Emanon, and they knew it because they were my friends. And you can't be a friend of Crash without being recommended Memories of Emanon.
I had always wanted to read Memories of Emanon after hearing it was a good read from some friends and seeing how much Crash loved it, so I was really glad he had the idea to do this video, which gave me a reason to check it out. It was a very short and sweet story of a girl who has somehow lived for many years beyond normal human lifespan. Personally, I love stories about immortality or longer than average life, so getting to see how someone in that position interacts with normal people is always interesting. And by the end, the mystery is wrapped up, showing that Emanon passes her memories off off to her offspring. I imagine this would be a little weird though for the guy to see a kid claiming to be the girl that he kissed that one time on a boat and never got to see again, but it was a beautiful read. Thanks again for giving me a reason to check this out, Crash.
Okay, first things first, Daddy Crash, you cooked with this recommendation, bro. I know you've always been vocal about your love for Emanon, but I totally get it now. I went in completely blind with zero expectations and I was enthralled the entire way through. Much like the concept of the story, my experience with Emanon was captivating and fleeting. A moment in time that was over before I knew it, but I will never truly forget. And that's what this story did so well. Finding meaning in life can be difficult, but joy and purpose can always be found in those fleeting, unforgettable moments. It's common to have memories that only make up a speck of who you are, but had a lasting impact on your life forever. That kid whose name you can't quite remember who played with you that one summer when nobody else would. That friendly stranger that recognized the unknown band on your t-shirt. Recalling those memories and the impact they had on you is a really heartwarming experience. I only bought this manga because Crash asked me to read it, and now I'm gonna have to get the others because I loved it so damn much. People gotta stop recommending Peak to me. My wallet is dry, bro. Nothing but dust in there.
I want to pause a little bit here just to talk about Grimsabr's opinions of what Emanon is, and his interpretation is one that I love because it's essentially my own. It's the thing that I talk about in my own video of Memories of Emanon that will be linked at the end of the video. And what I like about the interpretation, or what I like about the next person's video, is that TheAnimeWeeb does have kind of the same interpretation. He kind of takes the same thing from the series that I took, that Grimsabr took, but he put it in a much more simple and, in my opinion, much more hilarious way. So just check it out.
So yeah, Memories of Emanon, or Emanon, or Eminem, or however you pronounce her name. You know what the story embodies for me personally? You meet that one girl on the airport or in the mall that is so freaking pretty. You can like imagine your whole life with her and shit. You're like, holy shit, this woman is beautiful, but you only get to meet her once. Yeah, that's literally Memories of Emanon. For me personally, that's what I feel.
Like, I think I read the Memories of Emanon. I think I read the first volume back when it was first scanlated, because the physical edition in English only came in 2019. The physical edition in Portuguese only came out in like 2022 or something like that. So I read it in scans. And at the time, the scans were broken. I had to go through a couple different websites to find it in order, because in some places they only have the first chapters, other places only have the back half of the manga. Some places had both of them, but they were in like weird orders, not in the correct order, so I had to look up and find it. And I was captivated by it. I absolutely love the manga and love the character of Emanon, basically from the beginning. But over the years, I think what made me a bigger fan of this series, or what made the series feel even more special for me, is just how alone I was in those early days as a fan of this series. I would want to say, like, for the first 7-8 years of being a fan of Memories of Emanon, the only people that I knew that actually had read Memories of Emanon, that actually were, I'm not going to say fans, but actually knew the character, actually knew the manga, actually liked the manga, were people that I had introduced them to the manga myself. And in that way, even I felt like the biggest fan of this character, biggest fan of the series. In a lot of ways, it felt like the series belonged to me, and that's why I understand the second group of people that are, fans of unknown things that I mentioned in the beginning, which is the group of people who don't want to share, who want to gatekeep these series, because to have that little space for me, to have that little one series that is mine and mine alone, a series that I can say that I'm the biggest fan and genuinely believe it, it is special. But truth is, I am not the only Emanon fan. I'm not the only person who read Emanon up till 2019. Next couple of people, especially the first one, SecretDoves, are people who have been introduced to the series before, who I asked to read, but they had already read it. They were already experienced, and some of them were already fans of this series. So let's hear SecretDoves.
My relationship to Wandering Emanon. So for me, Wandering Emanon was a gateway series. It was one of the first seinen I read. I think it was actually the first seinen manga I ever read. Now, normally, when you're talking about the gateway series, you're talking about stuff like Vagabond, you're talking about stuff like Vinland Saga, Berserk, this kind of like crazy action. For me, it was Emanon. Now, I came from shoujo. Shoujo manga was my go-to back in the day. It was also the most popular genre back in the day. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy, character-focused slice-of-life romance. It's really great. Big fan of that. And Emanon fits right in there. It's just two characters interacting on a boat, having this conversation, connecting with each other. There's romantic undertones, but it never goes fully there. It becomes this really interesting science fiction story, but it's rooted in just the relationship between these two characters that forms on this brief journey. And what really stands out about it to me is the writing of the prose and the interactions between Emanon and our main character are just, they're so compelling, they're so interesting. They really draw you in. It is a little pretentious, it starts off with that with like references to Heinlein, references to the science fiction novel that like has the same concept, like genetic memories of the past. I forget the title, but it's a little pretentious about its origins and its intent, but I like that. It's cool. It's interesting that he's trying to do this sort of further exploration of the 20th century sci-fi canon, and it is a really wonderful entry into science fiction, because the science fiction concept doesn't take it over. We don't have like space lasers or anything like that. It's just one simple science idea. What if an organism transferred its memories genetically, and what would that mean over time with evolution? And you get this character of Emanon. And there's just a very compelling idea. That's a very compelling sci-fi idea that has a lot of weight and gets explored throughout the story. And then you just have the character dynamics. Is she telling the truth? Is she lying? Is this a real science fiction sort of like mythical being that this guy has met, or is it just some weird hippie chick who's messing with him on the ride home? I love that dynamic. I love that tension. I love the science fiction of it, and I love all the writing. It's really one of my favorites. Very short, sweet. You can read it in an afternoon, get the whole beautiful experience, and keep coming back to it and keep thinking through it. It's got depth, it's tight, it's clean, it's sci-fi. Highly recommended. Everyone should read it at least once. Those are my thoughts.
Now, the next two, TrackingShots and Trentin, also had read Memories of Emanon from before I asked them to be part of this video. Now, the reason why I divided them from SecretDoves is because their experience is a little bit different. They have read the series years ago, and then they use this opportunity to read them again. And what I find amazing is how different their experience is from the first time they read it to now really was. So let's just take a look.
Hey there, Crash. Thank you for giving me an excuse to revisit this series. I haven't read this manga since I was 16, and I probably picked it out then, if I'm being honest, because of all the nudity in later volumes of the story. Around that time, I was most likely looking for a much steamier manga, and this is not really that. The art in this project is all sorts of sensual, but not in the ways dumb teenage me was looking for back then. Memories seems way more concerned with, well, memories. I think what hits me most reading it now is how well the artist captures sensory details. The deck of the boat feels cold, the cabin noisy, and all the seafood, beer, and cigarettes shared between the man and Emanon full of flavor. It's romantic, and sexy too, but it also has that quiet, contemplative feeling to it that I associate more with short fiction, and not so much manga. All the big ideas about evolution, history, and purpose feel right at home in a story by someone like Ursula Le Guin or Ray Bradbury, with maybe a little bit of Murakami thrown in as well. This story feels like it belongs in one of those authors' short story collections, and I mean that in a good way. It's a great read, and beautiful to look at too. Really interesting pick.
I first read Emanon over 4 years ago. It was a turbulent time in early January of 2020 where everything around me was changing. A big fear of mine was that in the future I wouldn't be able to do what I loved as much with my school life coming to a close. So at the time I would blitz through manga I would read. I would rush through what I loved, impatient and immature, not soaking in and experiencing what I should have. Reading Emanon now, I appreciate it much more. It's pensive, slow. I love how a lot of pages lack any text, allowing you to sink deeper into Kenji Surata's art, which says far more than any dialogue could. To me, it now reflects how I want to live life. Slower, more thoughtfully, drifting by as I experience events and meet new people. I also appreciate how it encapsulates how, as people, we both change and stay the same over time. I can observe that in myself. I still love manga. I shouldn't have been worried so much about that changing, and just like the narrator, I got to meet Emanon again. And while my first impression was abrupt and immature, the second time really struck a chord. I relate and vibe with Emanon a lot more this time. It was pleasant seeing her again, and who knows, maybe we'll meet again.
Now, if you were to ask me what's my favorite manga of all time, some people may notice that I don't actually answer Emanon. Normally I tend to say something like Dorohedoro or One Piece or Lavina. But what I can say about Emanon is that the character of Emanon herself is my favorite character of all time. And that is, to me, the main reason why the manga really ranks high for me. Really, I feel like it's special. Because the character of Emanon is genuinely a really interesting character. She feels normal. She is normal even. But as we go through the manga and we start discovering, or at least feeling that she may not be as normal as she is, that she may have deeper knowledge, deeper secrets, she starts feeling a lot more mysterious. She starts feeling a lot more interesting, enticing, to learn more and more and more about, to actually have a conversation, to sit down and talk and try to understand who she is, who she really, really is. And it's in exploring who Emanon is, through not only Memories of Emanon, but throughout all the other following volumes, that I think the manga really shines the best and really captivates me the most. And I'm not the only one to find the character of Emanon herself to be the most interesting part of this manga.
Memories of Emanon, a fascinating short story manifested by a mixture of living in the moment and an inspiration of high-level science fiction. It was a personification of intriguing mystery both in visual aesthetics and in storytelling, and despite the manga being short in length, it successfully managed to execute the passage of long periods of time. The length of this manga really benefited from being so short, as it allowed the readers to theorize how Emanon continued to live and carry the superpower that she once considered a burden. I do have to take my hat off to Emanon as a character for dealing with his powers so calmly and collectively. I don't know how I would cope with having every memory of each generation of my family's existence, it'd probably be a mixture of questionable British behaviours and a lot of alcohol, which would probably take away from the spiritual meaning behind this ability. With how this manga presented itself, I could definitely see it breaking off into mini-series of Emanon experience in different time eras. I'd be fascinated to see the reactions of those around her once she revealed her ability. And not only that, is there a possibility for any scientific breakthroughs with the backlog of her brain? But overall, it didn't have as big of an impact on me as much as the author intended, but I did enjoy the mysterious experience that was presented to me.
Honestly, this story really hit home in a lot of cool ways for me. It had a unique esoteric value to it, really trying to hone in on the principles of what it means to be human and what it means to, make your imprint on humanity and its history in your own way. And I think using Emanon's character and memories as a good way to play with, what possibly could be real, even if you think about it in a way, and even playing with how it can make sense in the story and make you feel like, dang, what if there is somebody out there that's holding on to the memories of humanity and ever since, living organisms, became conscious on Earth. I feel like it's such a unique story, something that's not really seen every day. And it just really hit me in my heart. And I really appreciate a story like this. So I really think everybody should give it a shot. You know what I'm saying? It's something that's short, sweet, and it's unique.
I thought the story was pretty cool. I liked the historical sci-fi setting it had. And I felt that the way the story was framed, from the really good art to the chapter titles and a lot of the dialogue and the paneling, did a really good job of sharing what the story was about. And now I just have a cool new volume on my shelf, and I'll probably pick up the rest of them at some point now.
Intriguing. Enough to leave you wanting more, but somehow still feeling satisfied. I like the concept of Emanon's, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, pseudo-immortality through memory transfer, and I normally would complain about the quote-unquote downtime where there is no dialogue and the mangaka is just showing us random panels, but the manga is so short everything breezes by pretty quickly regardless. This could have easily been a long-running series, but I appreciate it getting straight to the point. Even if you can go read more of Emanon's journey in another manga, her and the narrator's story is over. And it was still interesting even though we didn't learn a single character's name. I thought that was pretty cool. 7 out of 10. A solid 7 out of 10.
One of the most interesting parts to me in this collaboration was to see what everyone else had to say. It was to see if someone else had something to say that I hadn't thought about or hadn't given as much importance in the over 15 times I read this volume. And surprising to me, some of them actually did. To me, the most interesting part a lot of people brought up was the deeper philosophical questions posed in this manga. Because yes, this manga is about the little moments, the mundane moments of our lives and the memories that we build up onto them. And it is those moments that help us build who we are, who we want to be, and can help us define not only our position and purpose in our lives, but also our role in humanity.
Memories of Emanon asks the age-old question, what do you do if the hot chick in a turtleneck ripping cigarettes like there's no tomorrow is actually billions of years old? Well, that's not exactly the question, but this manga poses several deep questions while reflecting on how society, religion, etc. can perceive beings beyond our comprehension. And we share these ponderings with a young man whose love for sci-fi in the face of a dead lover entices the mysterious Emanon. When you think of sci-fi, it's pretty common to associate the genre with series like Alita, Akira, Gantz, and more, so it was refreshing to read a story like Emanon. Admittedly, with all of the deeper mysteries going on, I was afraid we were going to get some kind of unsettling reveal akin to Junji Ito, but was pleased that we didn't go in that direction. The ending is bittersweet and gives us a chilling reminder that what may seem like a long time for us is not even a drop in the bucket for the titular Emanon. That said, I do blame Crash for making me attribute the voice of Emanon to my favorite Portuguese manga YouTuber.
For many readers, manga is a form of escapism. To escape the mundanity of everyday life, we jump into a series of highs, manga with big events and cathartic releases. However, only reading this sort of manga can give readers a one-dimensional view of life, a false sense that life should be a series of highs or big events. But there's another angle to explore. Instead of plunging into the cathartic highs of a battle shonen to escape the mundanity, we can instead look at a new series that celebrates it, fostering a new perspective. And that, my friends, is Emanon. I picked up Emanon a couple years ago on a whim. I thought the cover was cool, but really knew nothing about it. Now, if you've talked to anyone about Emanon, especially Crash, you'll know that this is the best way to experience the story. And since then, I've come to understand what he meant by this. Memories of Emanon is essentially a one-volume conversation between strangers, and a rather trivial conversation at that. However, that's precisely why this series is best read with no prior knowledge. Like small talk that happens with a stranger, Emanon just happens. It vanishes as quickly as it appears, but that's the point. The dialogue's imbued with this natural quality that really makes you feel like a conversation you either had or overheard, drawing your attention into this otherwise trivial conversation. It's almost meditative the way it invites you to focus on the present, what's happening now. By the end of the manga, through the flow of conversation and structure of underlying events, you'll come to realize how beautiful the mundane can be once we learn to focus on what's happening before us, regardless of how trivial.
Upon reading the manga that features Manga Crash from Manga Crash for the Manga Crash channel, Emanon, Memories of Emanon is a story that really I had to sit with for a while in order to truly understand my thoughts on it. I think the story fully encapsulates the existential feeling that we all feel in our lives sometimes. The mystery of finding our purpose in the world. Of course, if not to the same extent as the character Emanon in the story, but I think that for a lot of us, we come to a point in our lives where we start to question what our purpose is, how we find it, and how we come across the things and the people that just get us from day to day. And just imagine how that must feel for someone whose memory seemingly spans millions of lifetimes. If who we are is dictated by our memories and our experiences, how does someone sift through the identities of countless people over trillions of years potentially to find out who they are and what their purpose is? And I think that between the soft but very loud art pieces in this manga, as well as some of the most down-to-earth conversations, Emanon does its best to showcase what it means to be human, what it means to find your purpose, and try to answer the question of questioning yourself. Upper mid, it's cool. Thank you, Crash, for letting me be in this project.
My feelings on Memories of Emanon are very chaotic, to say the damn least. I found the manga to be absolutely interesting, with various philosophical themes and ideas regarding the meaning of humanity and life in general, while also using the main character Emanon, or No Name, as a vehicle to deliver the main message, which is leaving memories behind and carving your history in stone to not be forgotten. Also, I got hit with an existential crisis, so this gets a 9 out of 10 minimum.
Memories of Emanon is short and sweet, as the story doesn't overstay its welcome, just like Emanon herself. The message of making sure to live in a moment is a powerful and oftentimes tough lesson to deliver, because the second we begin to think about it, we often arrive at a question like this: how do I know when I'm living the best moments of my life? And the special thing about that is, you don't, you never do, which is why life itself shouldn't be taken for granted, because we don't have that type of foresight. Even if we just look at the setting for this story, a majority of it takes place on a 17-hour-long boat ride. 17 hours is such a small thing compared to the many years we experience through life, this especially being the case for Emanon, as you would assume it's going to be a fleeting event lost in time. Yet even so, this single short boat journey is a moment both of these characters never forget. That is the power of memories, and why you should always live in the moment, because before you know it, it's already long behind you. And I think there's something really beautiful about that, specifically in Emanon's case, where life itself is such a long process, you just never know when moments like these will pop up. But that's one of the best things about life, because that unexpectedness is what makes these memories all the more worth cherishing and special. The art style for the manga is gorgeous too, as it helps bridge the themes of the story together perfectly. It's a simple art style, yet it's also incredibly detailed at times, especially when it comes to the scenery. And that's how memories tend to work for us. Being small simple events we can often retell in a good amount of detail depending depending on how valuable of a memory it was to us. Though my favourite pieces of imagery this manga displays are the double page spreads of the gorgeous never-ending night sky, being a set of breathtaking visuals that once again help build upon the message the story is attempting to convey to the reader. Live in the moment and simply take it all in. So, in conclusion, I still hate Manga Crash. Bye!
So, we praised a lot of Emanon, and for me, we could keep praising it for hours and hours on end. But no manga is perfect, and I think the next two people do bring up a good point. The biggest flaw, in my opinion, also in Emanon, and that is its ending.
So, having read Memories of Emanon, I just have one question. Why did it have to end like that? Without giving too many spoilers, the plot basically spells out the mystery to the main character. Cause see, in the beginning you get all kinds of hints that she has this superpower or mutation. And then she comes right out and tells the other character that she does in fact have this power. And she explains how it's affected her life. But just as the other character starts coming up with all these theories, she's like, haha, just kidding, I was messing with you, man. So then it's pretty cool, because now it's up to you to figure out, hey, was she telling the truth? Was she lying? Is it all just a big mystery? That is until the end of the manga. Naturally, I didn't like the ending because it sucks and it made me feel stupid. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I rate this manga 5 out of 10 bait endings. Now, if this were a contest for manga with the most smoking, however, then definitely a 7 out of 10 for lung cancer.
What's up, you guys? Chase the Dark Sage here, and I gotta say, before I started interacting with Crash, I have never heard of this manga before. Why would I? It's not my typical shonen / seinen action series that I would drool over. But Crash did propose this idea for a collab video, so I thought to myself, why not try something new? And I gotta say, I enjoyed my read of Memories of Emanon, or Emanon, however you say it. With it being a one-shot, super short story, I was worried about the concept that was introduced in it. But like I said, after reading it, I was quite satisfied. The beginning of the story gives me these Scott Pilgrim vs. the World vibes, where it's this girl that's just enjoying life and just living it to the fullest, I guess, and this guy who's basically a hopeless romantic that kind of falls for her. Having the concept of being the living being of memories of history itself was quite unique, and I didn't expect it, but I did enjoy it. Kind of weird, but also welcomed. From the way the story was actually told, I thought that this was going to be a more open-ended story, but she makes a choice later on telling him like what happens, and then we're confirmed that this whole Emanon living being of history of the memories of whatever itself is actually a thing in this universe. And I kind of like didn't like that aspect of it. It's not a bad aspect, it doesn't take away from it. I thought it was gonna be more open-ended, like, yo, was she really like a living being, or was she just making this all up because this guy's in the sci-fi stuff and she thought she'd just play along with it? It kind of ruined my expectation for what I thought was gonna happen, but I still enjoyed it. The story was interesting, the artwork was definitely something to actually look and marvel at, especially with the double page spreads, and the characters, they kind of fall flat, but I don't blame this on the story itself because this is a one-shot, so there's not enough time to really develop characters like this. Overall, this is a fun read I'd love to have in the collection at one point. And Crash, I know I'm gonna have the best opinion on this manga in this video, so go ahead and thank me now.
So, that was Emanon. But this video is not just about Emanon. This video is about the community, the anime and manga community, the people that have helped me a lot in this journey in my 4 years as a YouTuber. From friends to people I'm inspired by to guys. Everyone helps each other, or tries to help each other. And I think that's beautiful. I don't think I could have made it this far without a lot of these people, without any of these people. Not only the 20 that are here, but the other 20 that couldn't make it, and a lot more of them that I couldn't invite because, man, the list was getting big. But we're not done yet. There's 2 more guys to go, and I hope you stick by them. I think the reason why I left Erzy and Korosaki till the end is because I think you should check them out. These are 2 guys who don't have a lot of subscribers, but have a lot of quality. And I've been able to be there and watch their videos and sometimes help, sometimes not, sometimes they'll help me, but they're two really fun guys that you guys should check it out. So if you've been through me, if you've been through some of the bigger creators that are being part of this video, I do recommend to check not only Erzy and Korosaki, but every single other person that has been here. Thank you.
Yo, what's up guys, my name is Erzy, and this one guy named Manga Crash talked about me and wanted me to read this one manga, so I said, yeah, whatever. And because I'm a faceless YouTuber, because I have no face in real life as well, I decided to record this, so I don't give Manga Crash any trouble. And yeah, just enjoy me showing you guys German manga basically. But let's talk about the manga that I've actually read for this. Emanon was pretty good, yeah, I'd say that. It started out pretty weird and I was like, she's the, oh my god, that's so deep type of girl, and he's the, oh, banana funny type of guy. But the overall topic of this, with like being kinda immortal, which is also a very interesting take on immortality, like giving your memory to your children every time you basically birth them, thus kinda birthing yourself, which is really fucked up. But regardless, it was a really cool concept. I don't think I need to go over the story because probably everyone before me has done it. There's this one girl called Emanon and she remembers everything. Like she was bacteria back in the day. Bro, imagine being bacteria, that's crazy, man. And then they talked about whether it's good or bad, being able to remember everything. And that's interesting and all, but I'd love to see a story like this, but then we get like a best of, and we see the best of every life she has been through. That would be kind of like To Your Eternity. Like the premise also reminded me of Fleeden a bit, but yeah, it's definitely a very fun read through. And honestly, thank you Crash for recommending me this. 8 out of 10. Now I'm gonna go watch anime because manga readers stink.
Alright, so I read it and I think it's quite a lot like Sayonara Eri. That is also a mini story which has quite a lot of similarities. Not in the sense of exposition or camera angles, because that's completely different, but in the way the characters talk to each other about fictional or philosophical ideas that get discussed intricately. Besides that, both of the main characters are immortal girls and a random ass dude. Anyways, the retaining of memories through rare gene mutations is actually a pretty cool idea, and the way having perfect memory would work is quite shitty, like Emanon mentions. I personally can't remember much since I'm a musician and I'm a stupid fuck, so I'll just read this note I received from some random little Japanese girl, I don't know. Yeah, she just said that I had to do it or I'll get banned from YouTube or something. I don't know. Anyways. Dear Mr. Crash, I appreciate you using my likeness to bring people to my story and this video too. However, this is still impersonating me and using me for profit, so I'm officially sending you a cease and desist. You have 800 years to comply or you will face justice? What is this?